Our story begins with Hyun-soo and his friends watching Bruce Lee movies in the cinema. Growing up, Hyun-soo had always been impressed by Bruce Lee and wanted to learn martial arts and be like his idol. Fast forward to the present, Hyun-soo makes his way to the bus that'll take him to his new school, Jung High, an all-boys high school notorious for its delinquent students and strict teachers. As girls from an all-girls school next to theirs get on a bus, he notices some boys harassing them until they get off at their stop. Not wanting to get into trouble, he doesn't interfere and stays on the side of the bus. Just then, a bully asks him to hand over his collar. Later on, when Hyun-soo arrives at the school building, he's stopped by one of the guards and gets punished for not wearing his collar. All that for just missing a collar? What kind of school is this? After getting punished, our man's asked to follow his teacher inside, who introduces him to the class. He then sits with someone called Hamburger. He quickly learns that Hamburger distributes dirty magazines for money in the school, despite there being strict rules against it. So now class soon starts, and their teacher calls Hyun-soo and a few students up to the board. He gets them to solve a difficult math question. When everyone other than Hyun-soo fails to get the problem, their teacher makes them run laps as a punishment, and once they're done running laps, everyone goes back to the classroom. There, Hyun-soo is confronted by a new bully called Jik-se, who asks him for lunch money. When our boy tells him that he doesn't have any money, he's asking Hamburger to make sure Hyun-soo knows who he is and tells him to have his money ready the next day. So as he leaves the classroom, Hamburger tells Hyun-soo to just give him the money to avoid any trouble, as Jik-se is the king in the school. So after school, the two of them take a bus back home when Hyun-soo notices a beautiful girl. He instantly gets mesmerized by her, but quickly looks away when she makes eye contact. Oh well, sometime later he joins with his strict father, who expects only greatness from him in his taekwondo gym. However, Hyun-soo disappoints him with his powerless kicks, so his father shows him how it's done, and Hyun-soo falls to the ground. His father then dismisses him. Now the next morning, during lunch break, Jik-se sits next to Hyun-soo and starts going through his bag. He tells him to stop, but the bully suddenly attacks him and starts beating him up until one of their classmates, Woo-sik, stops him. He slaps Jik-se and warns him from disrespecting anyone again. Turns out Woo-sik is the real king of the school, and everyone fears him. Well, later that day during class, Hamburger hands Hyun-soo a dirty mag. Business is booming. But just when Hyun-soo tells him that he doesn't want the magazine, the headmaster and his student assistant show up. He's asking all the students to place their belongings on the table. While scared of being punished, our boy hides the magazine under him. Soon, the headmaster reaches their area and starts emptying out Hamburger's bag and finds his indecent book, so he takes him away for punishment. However, the student assistant named Jung sees the book he's sitting on and also takes him for punishment. There, they force him to frog jump up and down the stairs. After their punishment, they find their classmates who weren't punished playing basketball. However, one of the players gets injured, and our boy's asked to fill his position by the leader, Woo-sik. So Woo instructs Hyun to cover one of the players, and they manage to score against the other team, thus winning the game. Woo-sik and Hyun-soo become friends, and they start hanging out. One day, Woo-sik, Hyun-soo, and Hamburger get on the bus to go home when Hyun-soo notices that same girl from before getting harassed again. The bullies take her bag and pass it around, so he decides to help her out and goes up to the boys and politely asks them to return her bag. But instead of giving it back, they start mocking him. Just then, Woo-sik interferes and punches one of the boys. A fight breaks out and the bus is stopped. The three of them, along with the girl, run out of the bus. Woo-sik tells them they need to split up in case the boys are chasing them. He and Hamburger turn into one alley, while Hyun-soo and the girl turn into another. Our boy drags the girl behind a dumpster and tells her to stay quiet as he listens out for the boys approaching him. When the boys figure the alley's empty, they turn to leave. However, the girl notices a rat and screams. That caught their attention, and they start approaching him. But before they can do anything, Woo-sik comes up from behind and hits him with a brick, chasing him away. As a thank you, the girl takes the three of them out to eat and introduces herself as Hyun-ja. When it's about time to leave, Woo-sik tells Hyun-soo and Hamburger that he plans to woo this girl and rushes after her. That causes our man to be heartbroken. Now in the morning, the bullies from the bus confront Hyun-soo and Woo-sik in their class, while Hamburger manages to hide. They drag the two of them to another classroom and start beating them up. Not being able to take this anymore, Woo-sik hits back. This causes a full-blown fight to break out. Our boy, who had been watching this whole time, decides to help Woo-sik and gets in the middle of this. Sometime later, the two of them are punished, and Woo-sik's mom is called to the principal's office. She manages to save him from getting expelled, but warns him about getting into trouble again. So later Later at lunch, Hyun-soo tells Woo-sik that he needs to stop letting his temper get out of control, and then he asks him about Yeonja. Woo-sik tells him that she was too stubborn and playing hard to get. Well, our man's pleased to hear that because he assumed Yeonja would like Woo-sik since he saved her life. So later on that day, Hyun-soo convinced himself that he needs to talk to this girl if he wants to be more than friends with her. At first, he shows up at her school, but immediately hides when he notices her coming out. So that night, he lingers outside her academy, waiting for her to come out. By the time she does, it starts raining. So wanting to offer his umbrella to her, he starts going, but then decides against it and turns away once again. He continues walking away when suddenly she joins him under his umbrella. She tells him that she'd noticed him and wanted to say hello. Then he asks her if she would like to have dinner with him. When she tells him yes, the two of them head to a cafe where they have a meal. Our boy asks her what she thinks of Woo-sik, and she tells him that even though he is strong, he has no manners. Well, that makes our man happy and hopeful. Soon it's time for them to leave, and the two ride on the bus together until Hyun-soo gets off at his stop. Before leaving, he gives her his umbrella. Now, that's some classy Riz gameplay. Brava. Back at school the next day, Hyun-soo sits next to Burger, who's still selling his dirty mags. Hey, my man's gotta make some money. When class starts, one of the boys begins reading it. Woo-sik notices this and snatches the magazine from him in order to save him from trouble. However, he's too late, and their teacher asks him to bring those filthy pieces of paper to him. He hands it over to the teacher, who just begins slapping him. And to get out of trouble, he tells the teacher that the magazine belongs to Hamburger. Then the teacher starts beating up Hamburger. Damn, that's one intense school to be in. So upset with him for snitching, Hamburger leaves home first, leaving his friends alone. Hyun-soo tells Woo-sik to apologize to Hamburger, but he refuses to do so. Woo-sik then changes the conversation and pulls out the umbrella that he had given Yeonja and hands it to him, surprising Hyun-soo. He tells our man that he followed the girl home and had pretended to have gotten hurt. Seeing him injured, she helped him, and that's how the two of them began dating. Well, that's devastating for our boy, so when he gets home, he starts taking out that pain on a punching bag. So a few days later, he meets Woo-sik at the library. Woo starts complaining about dating this girl again because she's always concerned about getting good grades. The two of them then go to the roof where Woo-sik lights up a cig. Just then, our girl joins the two of them on the roof. She's asking Woo-sik to stop smoking and then hands him a cassette as a birthday present. Upon seeing his crush with his friend, a heartbroken Hyun-soo makes up an excuse to leave him alone, but Woo stops him and tells him to join him at the club instead. Although hesitant, he agrees to join him. Now he's at the club, but he's unable to enjoy himself as he continues watching him. When he sees him making out, he just leaves and goes to the cafe. There he has a drink with the owner, and he tells her about his crush on this girl. All of a sudden, the owner begins flirting with him and kisses him. Look at this guy here, risen milfs. However, he refuses that temptation and leaves. So the next day, Woo-sik asks Hyun-soo where he was last night, and he makes up an excuse. When they get to class, they find Jikse and a few other of their classmates gambling. Just then, Jung interrupts them and starts beating Jikse up. Seeing this, Hyun-soo's asking him to stop. Woo-sik then comes up from behind and challenges Jung to a fight. However, the headmaster calls for Jung and he leaves, with matters unresolved. Now after school, Hyun-soo goes to the library, but on his way there, he overhears Woo-sik breaking up with Yeonja. That night, while he's heading home, our girl stops him on the way and is asking him for a ride back. So as the two are sharing a moment, she confesses that she likes being with him because he doesn't make her cry like Woo-sik. Now one night, Hyun-soo decides to confess his love to this girl, but is too shy to do it in person, so he writes a letter to the radio station and gets him to read it and play a song that he dedicates for her. Now the next day at school, Woo-sik had heard his song dedication and confronts Hyun-soo, telling him that he can have Yeonja since he's already used her. Well, that offends our boy and he punches him. Now a fight breaks out between the two of them and they begin hitting each other until the headmaster pulls them apart. So later that day, our man turns on the radio and hears that Yeonja had confessed her feelings for him too, via a letter and a song dedication. He rushes to the bus stop hoping to catch her. When he gets there, she gets off the bus and greets him. He immediately asks her to go on a day trip with him, and she agrees. They spend the next day together and Hyun-soo finally tells her that he likes her, and the two of them share a passionate moment. Now one morning in school, Hamburger, who's still selling dirty mags to his classmates, gets caught by Jung again, and he tears the magazines apart. Wanting revenge, Hamburger decides to splash hot tea on him, but he avoids it and starts attacking him. Once he's done, Jung goes to find Woo-sik and plans to challenge him to make sure Hamburger and his friends wouldn't cause trouble anymore. All the students gather on the roof, where the two of them fight against each other. However, much to everyone's surprise, Woo-sik gets defeated, and Hyun-soo, who saw everything, takes him away. So the next day, Woo-sik goes missing. Hamburger tells Hyun that he had left with Hyun-ja. While not believing that she would betray him, he goes to her house and finds that she's not there. Once again, this breaks his heart, and he leaves. And he lives the next few weeks restless and sad. During this time, Jongin, who had beaten Woo-sik, becomes the king of the school, with everyone fearing him now. One day, he bumps into our boy and recognizes him as Woo-sik and Hamburger's loser friend. He starts insulting him, and he asks him to meet up the next time he sees him. This triggers our man, so he begins training hard with Bruce Lee-inspired fighting books and movies to avenge his friends and heal his broken heart. Now, one afternoon at school, some boys accidentally spill some milk on Jongin, making him mad. He starts questioning who's the culprit and starts attacking Hamburger when he doesn't get an answer. Hyun-soo, who's had enough of this tyranny, decides to challenge him to a duel. The fight starts and soon escalates with other students joining in too. However, our man manages to defeat everyone and then angrily walks out of the school, with the headmaster expelling him from the school as he does. A year later, Hyun-soo manages to get into a new school and is preparing for his examinations to attend college. One night on his way back home, our man sees the girl on the bus. He goes to her and tries to spark a conversation, but somehow both don't find any words to say. The movie ends with Hyun-soo saying goodbye to her, watching her walk away from the bus. How's that for an ending? Thank you for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe, and we hope to catch you on the next one.